Okay, former guest slash host of Get Up, as well as he's been on First Take. He's also been on ESPN's NFL, the afternoon show. I think he's also been on the pregame show of ESPN. Ryan Clark is no longer a member of the Worldwide Leader of Sports. Now, word around the campfire is that Ryan Clark and ESPN is at a standstill. Now, Ryan Clark took to social media saying that we're at a disagreement. When he says it's Ryan Clark versus ESPN. Most likely, they probably lowballed him for a contract renewal. If he would have signed that contract, he probably wouldn't be making the money that he was making with his old contract. So it's one of those situations that I think I better let him go. Just, cut our losses. Ryan Clark does his thing. ESPN continue to do their thing. I mean, if you're an ESPN fan, if you look at the ESPN is hotter than ever. Okay. I think they got like a couple of years remaining with Stephen A. Smith. You guys know how I feel about Stephen A. Smith, but Stephen A. Smith does a fairly great job with ESPN. The up and down roller coaster with Pat McAfee, even though they paid top dollar for him. The Troy Aikman deal looked like Troy Aikman got Monday Night Football back in prime time. The Joe Buck situation, as well as if you look at the hiring of Shannon Sharpe, even though it's at a full-time level, and I told you guys if you've been following this channel, would not surprise me none if ESPN rips that contract and make it long-term with more money, similar to like what Pat McAfee's saying. Now, I would say Pat McAfee ratings has been up and down, and I feel like that's more due to the fact of the situation with him and Aaron Rodgers. Remember when Aaron Rodgers said those ridiculous things, even though he said he was joking, those ridiculous things, and sort of got them some bad press and a bad press run. But nevertheless, when you go back to Ryan, I feel like these are the reasons why Ryan Clark was not offered a bigger contract, because ESPN is coming from the standpoint of, look, we got some stars already in our staple that we're going to take care of. So why are we going to overpay for Ryan Clark, and we're only going to really utilize him fully only on NFL coverage? Now, he doesn't translate or transcend with the other topics of sports when you talk about UFC and basketball. I'm pretty sure, he has takes, but it's not as what they're really paying him for is to be an analyst for the NFL side of things. Now, Ryan Clark, others out there that know this situation, they offered Ryan Clark a contract, but it was a lot less than what he was asking for. And when you look at Ryan Clark's perspective is, I'm hotter than ever, okay? He's still the host of Inside the NFL. I didn't even know that show is still running. I think that's on Showtime. He's also the host and the founder of the Pivot Podcast. The Pivot Podcast is doing some amazing numbers. And I will say, I remember doing a video on this, but this was like months ago, where I felt like the Pivot Podcast is like second when it comes to sporting podcasts over the former podcast, the I Am Athlete podcast. But after looking and doing some research, it seemed like the Pivot Podcast ratings are through the roof, and it's giving the I Am Athlete podcast some serious competition. So I don't know what Brandon Marshall's doing with the I Am Athlete, but he's going to have to step his game up, okay? Because he's losing a lot of viewers and listeners, and they're all gravitating to the Pivot Podcast. And when you look at Ryan Clark, he just has more options, okay? He just doesn't have to take the ESPN offer because, he's not hot anymore, or he doesn't have any options, similar to what Mike Golick did. Mike Golick was living his best life, And when it was time for him to renegotiate, he took a lesser offer to stay with ESPN. Now, he left, his son had to find, he stayed with ESPN as long as he could. And when ESPN felt like, his son wasn't it, then, I think his son is with, I was going to say Bill Levitar. His name is not Bill Levitar. Shoot, I forgot his name. Well, Levitar and his thing, he's fully committed with YouTube. Dan Levitar. So he's doing some things with Dan Levitar. But when you talk about Ryan Clark, he has better options to the point where, hey, I don't have to necessarily take a low offer from ESPN to make money, okay? Because I'm doing my thing. So there's no sour grapes with Ryan Clark. Ryan Clark appreciate ESPN giving him the opportunity to do this. He's just going elsewhere. I don't think that this means that Ryan Clark is coming back to ESPN anytime soon. As long as the Pivot Podcast is doing their numbers, and even if inside the NFL no longer wants him, I'm pretty sure there's going to be some broadcast or some network that will sign Ryan Clark for just NFL and NFL only. Inside in the NFL, I think he has connections in the NFL with a lot of the younger stars. But, this is to me, Ryan Clark is, he just elevating. It wasn't that, he feels bad for ESPN or ESPN feels bad for him. He's going to do his thing, and ESPN is going to continue to do their thing. And really nothing has changed, okay, other than the dress code to where he works at, okay? So, yeah, that's great news for Ryan Clark. That just means he's just got more offers, and he's just basically following those offers. And with ESPN, this doesn't mean ESPN is going to be losing any sleep, or they're going to have to shut ESPN down. I know a lot of people are hoping for the day that ESPN is no longer ESPN. I don't think it's ESPN of the 90s. But when it's at its pinnacle, but ESPN is just too big, too massive, too influenced, too heavily influenced, too many connections for ESPN to just close the doors. I mean, ESPN is still doing what they want to do. Obviously, next football season, they're going to promote someone who's a name in NFL circles, who just recently retired. It would not shock me none if Travis Kelce's older brother is signed by ESPN. And I'm telling you, you might as well just book it. If he retires from the NFL, ESPN is going to come a-calling, and they'll probably pay him more on his first contract than the offer that they was giving Ryan Clark. Okay, ain't that funny? But it's just the names, okay? And, since Travis Kelce is popping, he's dating Taylor Swift, this will benefit his brother. I don't know why I call him his son. His older brother, and it's going to get him a huge promotion with ESPN, and that's just how it works. And then when he's done with his contract, they're going to do the same play that they did with Ryan Clark. They're going to lowball him. And if he has options, and I feel like he's still going to have those options. He does a podcast with Travis Kelce. And who knows, he's going to probably have some other options that's going to come a-calling as well. He either accept the offer, or he just go his separate ways. But, I like Ryan Clark. I enjoyed listening to Ryan Clark, but it's just one of those things. It's just the nature of the beast. But guys, tell me what you think. Rate, comment, subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Deuces.